Hello again to my fellow AP Bio students, Miss Davis, random internet people. I'm here to talk about meiosis. Woohoo! So what is it? Meiosis is the process of making haploid gamete cells. Sounds pretty fancy, but it's pretty much just cells with half the number of chromosomes as a normal cell, which we use for sexual reproduction. Otherwise, our children would have a ridiculous amount of chromosomes. And it pretty much just gives us gamete cells. So the basic steps, there's two parts, meiosis 1, which is from here to here, and meiosis 2, which is this bottom part. So, meiosis 1, meiosis is where it creates the two haploid cells. You start with one diploid cell, and then it separates the chromosomes, and so these two haploid cells that are created out of meiosis 1 have half the number of chromosomes as the original one, which is really important. Really important. That's like the whole point of meiosis. And then comes meiosis 2, which separates the chromatids. So it creates 4 gametes out of 2. So essentially it's kind of like a mitosis. If you saw my other video, which if you haven't, you should check it out. It's mitosis without the DNA replication. Instead of like separating like the DNA, meiosis 2 is separating the chromatids. So like half, the chromosome is like this, and then you're separating it into 2 parts. So it creates 4, haploid gametes, which are which are genetically unique because of crossing over. And crossing over is like when the genes from chromosomes swap, which is super important because that increases our genetic variation, which is a good thing because that means our future generations won't be identical copies of us, which would be not only creepy but bad, because if like one of us was susceptible to his disease, eventually we would all be. But this way, only some people would be, if you get what I'm saying. Anyway, you can still like get a specific gene without getting like the whole chromosome. So like maybe this gamete didn't get this whole chromosome, but it may have gotten that specific gene because of crossing over. And it occurs in homologous chromosomes along homologous chromatids. So, as you can see here, in this little diagram, you start with 2, and then, you can see it starts to cross over, get kind of interesting, and all of a sudden, in the end, you get all this mixed up and all the, delicious genetic variation that we want. And then another important part is fertilization is when the egg and sperm, 2 haploid gametes created by meiosis, meet, and they form a diploid zygote, is what it's called. It's a one cell, and that zygote pretty much becomes your baby. That's really important because that's the whole point of meiosis, is to create these gametes so that they can meet and form a genetically unique but have the full number of chromosomes cell that becomes our child. So, meiosis versus mitosis, just a brief rundown. Meiosis, there is no DNA duplication involved. Pretty much just splits it and creates 4 unique gametes. And then versus mitosis, which DNA does duplicate before dividing, and that creates 2 identical daughter cells. So, hope this was entertaining, or if not that helpful, or vice versa, and peace out.